Hello. This discussion will be about ancient China and ancient Egypt. We will discuss what made them similar and what made them different. Also discussed is my theory that their similarities were due to their natural borders. The second theory is that because of their isolation, they were free to develop their own unique and different cultures. Anne Spencer Perry once said, "Just as the present is a result of our past, so our future will be the result of our present. Every minute of every day we are weaving threads that will make the cloth of our future." It is true that ancient civilizations have greatly influenced modern times by the technologies and culture they left us. Ancient China and ancient Egypt have captivated and inspired us to dig deep into their past to find ramifications of their influence on our everyday lives. Neolithic China can be traced beyond 10,000 BC. Ancient Chinese history can be dated from 1200 BC, probably due to records written on non-permanent media. But there is evidence that Chinese dynasties began around 2500 BC, according to records of the grand historian Sima Qian. This culture was built on the strong ties of the family. They practiced family worship of their dead relatives. Even though there was evidence of human activity in the Nile River Valley dating back to 8000 BC, historical records of Egypt as a unified state date to around 3150 BC and lasted with little change for around 3,000 years. This longevity was due to the dynastic rule of the pharaohs. This culture was built on a religion with a core belief in the afterlife. Ancient China and ancient Egypt have many similarities. These two ancient civilizations both developed in near isolation without much influence from the outside world. Ancient China developed along the Yangtze River in southern China and the Yellow River in northern China. Ancient Egypt developed along the Nile River, having a substantial body of water that could be irrigated for farmland and utilized for a food source, aided in the development of these two civilizations. Both of these civilizations also had natural borders that helped them develop their unique cultures without outside interference. The Himalayan mountain range edged southwestern China, encompassing Tibet and Nepal, and forming a natural barrier along the border of India. The Gobi Desert and Taklamakan deserts in the southwest China are massive, ancient seas with some of the driest conditions of any desert in the world. Taklamakan has perilous sandstorms and drought, poisonous snakes, and extreme weather. China's coastline borders the Yellow Sea to the north and the China Sea at the edge of the Pacific Ocean. Ancient Egypt also had natural borders. The vast Saharan desert, with its few scattered oases to the west, the mountainous eastern desert and the Red Sea to the east, the narrow coastline of the Mediterranean Sea edging the marshy delta to the north, and the cataracts, with granite obstacles that prevented easy navigation from invading boats to the south. Ancient Egyptians were for the most part free from invaders. This gave Egypt time to develop its unique culture, religion, and political state. Another thing that both of these ancient civilizations had in common is both had a written language. Chinese writing was more widely used in alphabetic writing systems, and until the 18th century, more than half of the world's books were written in Chinese, including works of speculative thought, historical writing of a kind, and novels, along with writings on government and law. The first recognizable form of Chinese writing dates back 3,500 years ago, but many argue that its origins lie much deeper in the past. Regardless of its actual age, Chinese written language has evolved substantially over time. It has retained its ancient core, making it one of the longest continuously used writing systems in the world. This writing system also has influenced Japanese, Vietnamese, and Korean writing styles. The Chinese writing system developed more than 4,000 years ago, and the oldest examples of written Chinese are from the 14th or 15th century BC, when the Shang dynasty flourished. Chinese writing consists of an individual character for every syllable, each character representing a word or idea rather than a sound. Thus, problems caused by homonyms spoken in spoken Chinese are not a difficulty in written Chinese. The written language is a unifying factor culturally, for although the spoken language and dialects may not be mutually comprehensible in many instances, the written form is universal. The Egyptians, on the other hand, used a distinctive script known today as hieroglyphs, which is Greek for sacred words, for almost 4,000 years. Hieroglyphs were written on papyrus, carved in stone, on tomb walls and temple walls, and used to decorate many objects of religious in use in daily life. Altogether, there are over 700 different hieroglyphs, some of which represent sound or syllables, others that serve as determinatives to clarify the meaning of a word. The hieroglyphic script originated shortly before 3100 BC, at the very onset of pharaonic civilization. The last hieroglyphic inscription in Egypt was written in the 5th century AD, some 3,500 years later. But for about 1,500 years after that, the language was unable to be read. In 1799, the Rosetta Stone, discovered in Egypt by Napoleon's troops. The Rosetta Stone is a trilingual decree written in hieroglyphs for almost 1,500 years after that. The language was unable to be read. In 1799, the Rosetta Stone was discovered in Egypt by Napoleon's troops. The Rosetta Stone is a trilingual decree written in hieroglyphs, Greek, and Demotic, dating to the time of Ptolemy V, between 205 and 180 BC. Its discovery proved to be a crucial link in unlocking the mysteries of the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and in 1822, enabling Jean-Francois Champollion to redecipher the hieroglyphic signs, thereby allowing the modern study of them. These two ancient civilizations thrived alone and isolated because of some of the aforementioned reasons, but their differences are really what made them special. The religion they practiced, the way they conducted trade, and the use of medicine were uniquely different. The ancient Chinese are said to have three doctrines: Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. Of these three, only Buddhism is a true religion. The other two are more philosophy than religion. The ancient Chinese practiced ancestral worship very early in their development as a civilization. They sacrificed to many gods, and what they practiced as a religion usually was directed by who the emperor was at the time. Ancient Egyptian religion was a complex system of polytheistic beliefs and rituals which were an integral part of ancient Egyptian society. It centered on the Egyptians' interaction with many deities who were believed to be present in and in control of the forces and elements of nature. Former religious practices centered on the pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Although he was human, the pharaoh was believed to be descended from the gods. He acted as the intermediary between his people and the gods, and was obligated to sustain the gods through rituals, offerings, so they could maintain order in the universe. Therefore, the state dedicated enormous resources to the performance of these rituals and to the construction of temples where they were carried out. Individuals could also interact with the gods for their own purposes, appealing for their help through prayer or compelling them to act through magic. These popular religious practices were distinct from, but closely linked with, the formal rituals and institutions. Popular religious tradition grew more prominent in the course of Egyptian history as the status of the pharaoh declined. Another important aspect of the religion was a belief in afterlife and funerary practices. The Egyptians made great efforts to ensure the survival of their souls after death, providing tombs, grave goods, and offerings to preserve the bodies and the spirits of the deceased. Another difference between these two ancient civilizations was the way they practiced healing and medicine. The ancient Egyptians believed that most non-physical ailments were caused by spells and curses. Overall treatments included amulets, potions, and surgery depending on what was wrong. Chinese medicine, on the other hand, was based on the idea of the balance of the energies of yin and yang. Illness was the result of an imbalance and was treated with herbs, acupuncture, and exercises. The final difference that will be discussed is the way each ancient civilization conducted trade. Cowrie shells are believed to have been the earliest form of currency used in central China. Around 210 BC, the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, abolished all other forms of local currency and introduced a form of copper coin. People used metal imitations of cowrie shells and then metal strings of beads called cash. Paper money was invented in China in the 9th century, but the base unit of currency remained the copper coin. Copper coins were used as the chief denomination of currency in China until the introduction of the yuan in the late 19th century. Ancient Egyptian society, on the other hand, practiced a complex barter system of cashless exchange. People would gather in public marketplaces to exchange their goods with one another. Some marketplaces were seasonal and included unique products that were produced outside the local area. Before they started using coins around 500 BC, Egyptians used a system of value based on weights of various metals, especially silver and copper. The modern influence of these two cultures is easily seen by the inventions that are still being used in modern times. Egypt is best known for the pyramids at Giza that have stood for over 2,000 years. The pyramids are a testament to the craftsmanship and ingenuity of ancient Egypt. They are also known for the secrets they kept for as nearly as long. The boy king Tutankhamun, or King Tut, was mummified and buried in a pyramid. This was because the Egyptians believed in afterlife, and they put all the necessary things in the burial chamber that was needed for the afterlife. Some of the less notable inventions of this ancient civilization are wigs, solar calendar, makeup, surgical sutures, door locks, surgical instruments, and shaving. Now, some of the ancient inventions that were used in China, they're still used today, are paper currency, ephedrine, gunpowder, fireworks, tea, silk, and acupuncture. In conclusion, I have shown between ancient China and Egypt what made them similar and what made them different. I've also theorized that the similarities were due to their isolation, and that the differences, because of that isolation, allowed them to develop unique and different cultures. These ancient cultures provide us with a rich history that is carried forward to modern times with goods and technologies that have enhanced and enriched our lives.